Ephphatha, be open my eyes, be open my eyes, be open my eyes. Ephphatha, be open my ears, Lord, help me to hear your word. Ephphatha, be open my heart, be open my mind, God, fill me inside with your love. If you can make a blind man see, open me, Lord, set my soul Ephphatha, be open my eyes, be open my eyes, be open my eyes. Ephphatha, be open my ears, Lord, help me to hear your word.
Hello, thank you again for joining me this morning as we continue our book, Reaching for Wonder. Today we're focusing on Mark 7:31 through 35. Again, he went out from the region of Tyre and came through Sidon to the Sea of Galilee, within the region of Decapolis. They brought to him one who was deaf and spoke with difficulty. They implored him to lay his hands on him. Jesus took him aside from the crowd by himself and put his fingers into his ears. And after spitting, he touched his tongue with saliva, and looking up to heaven with a deep sigh, he said to him, Ephphatha, that is, be opened. And his ears were opened, and the impediment of his tongue was removed, and he began speaking plainly. Something I love about this passage is just the power we see here in Jesus, simply with the single word, be opened. But also this man, and that's what we're going to be focusing on, is actually the isolation of this man, the thought. So imagine this. Someone asks you to go into the basement and grab something for them. Well, the only problem is, the light downstairs doesn't work. So you're going down to this basement and you take your phone with you. Well, guess what? Your phone died while you're down there. And it's so dark, you can't even see the hand in front of you. Well, think about this man. Think about yourself when you're down there stumbling through. This isn't your basement, so you might not know where everything is. Whereas if the lights in my basement went off, I kind of know where things are. But in my friend's basement, if the lights went out, I'm lost. Imagine this man. He's deaf to the world and could hardly speak. And often we take our hearing, our sight, our taste, the sounds that we are able to hear, all of that for granted. This man couldn't hear anything and could barely speak. And often when I look around in this world, I go about my day-to-day life and I don't interact with people who are deaf or who are blind very often or who can't speak. But what I do know is that those people can often feel trapped. And it's not to say that we can't feel that way either. But this man had that feeling. He had no way to experience the world like the people around him did. And often we can feel that way too. I remember when I was in high school, I would go to school and I was a ninth grader, but among these other ninth graders, I felt so alone. I had no way of relating to these people. You see, and often we'll just simply try and blend into the crowd and just hide away our problems. And yeah, just like this man, there are people there trying to help us and bring us to Jesus, but sometimes we're pushing away. And what really brought and kind of stirred my heart was the story of how this man was brought by all these people to Jesus. But what did Jesus do? Jesus took him away, took him to the side. And when Jesus took him to the side, he healed him. But what do we do when we're in that situation? Well, I think this story gives us a perfect example. You see, when we're stuck in the crowd, what do? and we have these people being pushed away, well, we go to Jesus. And often, how do we do that? Sometimes we need to go to Jesus alone. We may have all of these people talking for us and rooting for us in our corner, but that just makes us feel so much more isolated because it makes us feel like they don't understand, or they can never understand how I feel. Often with my back pain, I know my wife feels like she can't understand me, and I know that because she doesn't experience that pain that I do, or the emotions that I've had to deal with growing up. And that can feel so isolating to me because I sometimes don't feel like there's someone I can connect with. But that's when Jesus comes in, right? You see, Jesus, he takes us to the side and he communicates in a way that we understand. But we have to choose to accept that. That man could have slapped Jesus' hands away and slapped all these people away, but he didn't. He simply allowed Jesus to guide him. And so how did Jesus heal him? He spit on his hand and touched the man's tongue. And he took his fingers and put it in the man's ears. He used touch and taste. He communicated in a way that this man could understand because the man couldn't hear. So no matter what Jesus said, the man would never understand unless Jesus made him understand. But rather, Jesus took time to take and communicate in a way that we understand. And that's what Jesus does. Often we're so heated in the moments that we're not looking for Jesus in this normal way. We're looking for Jesus to communicate this way. But realistically, he's trying to communicate to us in a way that we understand. And we often overlook that. You see, even in times like this, we have to choose to allow Jesus to touch us in ways that bring us not only closer, but also transform us. So when Jesus takes us to the side, we have to listen for him. We have to be willing and be opened. And so that's where this word, the super powerful word that Jesus says, and I keep butchering it, and I apologize if I keep butchering it, Ephphatha, be opened. And I found that so powerful because Jesus called for this man to be opened. And what do you mean, be opened? My ears to be opened? My tongue to start talking again? I think it was a call deeper. You see, this man was hiding simply in the crowd, right? He was in isolation, and Jesus was calling him out of that isolation. A call to truly hear Jesus. And by interacting with a way that the man understood, he was trying to communicate in a way that this man could truly tell that Jesus was being there for him and was talking to him. By pulling him away from the crowd and separating him from everybody else, Jesus was pinpointing him. And so when Jesus pulls us away from the crowd, he is pinpointing us. He's not talking to anybody else. He's not calling for anybody else to be open. He's not saying, you, Ephphatha. No, he's saying, you, Ephphatha. And that is so powerful. So powerful when Jesus is looking directly at us and looking at our heart and saying, Ephphatha. Ephphatha, be opened. So who is this God? Well, he's the God of Aletheia, God of truth. That is the Greek word that also means exposed. This God is the God of being opened. And what is so powerful about that is God is there and he's open with us. And so when he is open with us, we do the same. We allow Jesus inside of us so that when we allow him in us, he can transform us and use us. What I love about this story is followed story after story after story of how Jesus has not only touched people at the healing that they needed, but touched them at their heart and looked at what they truly needed inside. And so when Jesus is calling for Ephphatha, he's not just calling for a physical opening. He's calling for that spiritual opening that we desire, that we often overlook. And page 166, it shares this. Lord, strengthen the weak hands and support the unsteady knees. Say to those who are panicking, be strong, don't fear. Here's your God. God will come to save you. Then the eyes of the blind will be opened, and the ears of the deaf will be cleared, and the lame will be leap like the deer, and the tongue of the speechless will sing. Waters will spring up in the deserts and streams in the wilderness. This is my prayer. You see, it's so powerful because when we have confidence in Christ and everything that he does, our ears will be opened, our eyes will be opened, and we can truly see Jesus for the first time. In the beginning of the book, it said this: deafened ears of sounds unconsciousness, every passage blocked and closed. At the word of Christ responding, all the portals open wide. Hear with joy friendly voices and the softly whispered speech. Every sickness now surrenders. Every listenness departs. Tongues, long bound by chains of silence, are loosened and speak aright. Jesus calls for us to be opened, Ephphatha. And when we truly do that, our ears are open not just to the sounds around us and the things that we overlook, but our eyes are also opened. We see things in a different light. When I first became a Christian, I started to look at the world in a different light. I started to hear things and look for things that I never thought I would look for, from how people talk to how I started talking. And I didn't change overnight. But what this passage shows me is that when we hear this word Ephphatha, when Jesus is calling for this to be opened, it's being open to this change that even if it's not overnight, Jesus is trying to make a difference in our life. He's trying to change us. One of the most powerful songs I remember growing up was the song I'm about to play for you. It's hopefully playing right now as I'm talking, but it's Amazing Grace. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I was once lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see. So I want you to listen to this song. And as it plays, remember Ephphatha.